I am joined by Robert Griffin III, James White, Field Yates Meanakeims.
All right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
What's going on, everyone? Tayler Kyles here for CLNS Media, coming at you with another episode of Pat's Daily, brought to you by our good friends at Prize Picks and Game Time. And no, you're not seeing double. It is James White. Now, as usual, I got to go with the Game of Thrones intro for you. So now Illinois assistant running backs coach, co-host of the Money Down podcast, 3-time Super Bowl champion, member of the 2010s All Dynasty team, and friend of the pod. Welcome back, James. Thank you so much for your time. We're bringing you on today to talk some TreVeyon Henderson, Patriots second-round pick, someone who I know David Andrews said he reminds me of somebody else who I used to play with, and you chimed in. So I said, you know what? Now I got to have you back on the pod to talk some TreVeyon Henderson, and also want to catch up with you because you got a lot of really cool things going on as well. So first and foremost, my man, welcome back. How are you doing, and how is coaching life treating you so far?
No, I appreciate you having me back on, man. It's been fun so far. It's been challenging as well. I mean, a lot of long hours, but it's been cool to get around, the young players. I remember it hasn't been that long that I was sitting in their shoes, competing, going to class, doing all that stuff. So to be able to help teach them the game, help give them some wisdom, or just to get to know them on a really personal level, that's been fun. And also just learning the game from the coaching aspect, and really breaking down the film tendencies, and seeing our own players' tendencies, see what they do well, try and play to their strengths. So it's been cool to see the other side of things.
And you played the game at the highest level. So I'm really curious, how has now coaching changed your perspective on the game? Like when you're watching tape, is there something else that you're either looking for that stands out now? That's fascinating.
For me, I kind of watch film the same way. I just think, now, before as a player, I would watch, probably a couple games and then certain cut-ups that would help me, get prepared for the game. But now I'm watching, tons of games, like plenty of them to really pick up on tendencies to see, strengths of teams, weaknesses of teams, strengths of defenses, strengths of our own offense, seeing what plays work against certain coverages for certain fronts. It's like all that stuff, because now I'm a part of implementing what we think is going to work versus our defense or any other defense that we're going up against. So just really getting the whole picture of things, which I always, as a player, I tried to grasp the whole concept, offense of what we were trying to get done, and vice versa what the defense was trying to do against us to try and attack us. So I think it's been good, and like I said, I'm only a couple months into this thing, and still a lot to learn. So it's been fun.
I got to ask, what cut-ups did you watch as a player? Because now all these websites have access to all these cut-ups. I always try to, improve my scouting technique. What were you watching to get a beat on opponents?
For me, like once we play on Sunday, then probably, watch that game the Monday we played, or the game that we just played, watch that on Monday. But after that, start diving into the next opponent. I watch probably like the last 2 or 3 games, that they play, just just from a general standpoint, just kind of let the tape roll, and I'll kind of pick up what I see, just normally just watching tape. Then after that, on Wednesday that's early downs. We usually practice first and second down, so I watch the team on first and second down, see what they're trying to get done in that aspect, to see if they played a team that does similar things to us. I'll try and point out those games too specific. I know for me, especially by the time I'll go in order. I'm getting out of order. I'm jumping ahead of myself, but. So yeah, I'm watching the early downs, before Wednesday, before we get in on there. Then Thursday we typically do, third down, and we'll work first, second down as well. So Wednesday night I'm watching the sub blitz, like the third down blitz packages that they have. I'm seeing how they match up against third down running backs. If they played a back that did similar things like me, a Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, like an Austin Eckler, I'll be tuning into that to see how they matched up against those against those guys on third down. And we did similar things, but I was more specified as far as catching the ball. Those guys were, in on every single play, so it was a little bit different. But I would see how teams would match up against those guys on third down, check those blitzes, see how the blitzers, see how they rush backs versus how they rush against offensive linemen. Is it any different? And all that type of stuff. And then Friday was red zone. Then I started watching red zone cut-ups to see what the team's tendencies there and all that. So just kind of gotten into a good routine of being prepared for that next day. So I already had anticipation of what we might try and do to attack that team.
I'm going to do my JV version of that this season. I'm going to try my best at least. Now, speaking of your playing days, someone that you played with, Julian Edelman, was just voted into the Patriots Hall of Fame. Real quick, what were your thoughts when you heard of the news, and just how does it feel to have somebody that you got to play with earn the red jacket, as someone who may earn one himself one day? Eligibility
I mean,
comes up.
it's a long list of guys for me, but Julian,
You got a lot of rings,
man.
though. You got a lot of rings.
Julian Edelman, man, special player, man. Obviously, quarterback coming out of college, got into the league, switched positions to receiver. Didn't quite see that many opportunities. Played on special teams. Was a backup to Wes Welker, Randy Moss, all those guys. But did a lot of different things when he did get his opportunity. Made plays, played defense, the return punts, just really had to earn his keep. And then by the time I walked in the door, he was the guy. Like him, Gronk. Those are the guys in our offense. Our offense ran through those guys. Like every pretty much most plays were designed to get those guys, the rock in any form or fashion. And they earned that right, based on how they play the game. And then just to see, as a rookie walking in, the way Julian practiced, the way he, prepared, and the type of attitude that he had every day to, still like he felt like he had to prove himself, to his teammates and to his opponents, man. Just a fun guy to play with. We didn't play the same position, but I watched the way he worked. We did some similar things as far as routes. So I was trying to steal some stuff, based on what he was doing to add to my game, man. So definitely was a pleasure getting to play with Jules. Definitely one of the very most underrated players probably in the NFL. And doesn't he have the most receiving yards in playoff history or something along those lines? So always came through in the clutch for us and always performed in the biggest moments.
Say the same about you, sir, but hopefully we will see you both one day rocking the red jackets. And let's keep this train going with the red jackets and the electric receivers. You got to announce a very special pick for the Patriots, number 69, which wound up being Kyle Williams. How in the heck did that happen? First of all, I was so excited. I was like, wait a minute, James is announcing the pick? That's a really cool opportunity. How did that happen? What was that like? And did you know anything about Kyle Williams when he was picked, or have you learned anything about him since?
See, the funny thing is, I ended up announcing Jared Wilson. I was originally supposed to do all three picks, originally.
Oh, that's right.
Which is a funny story because the day of they told me I was doing all three picks, but when I got there, literally the Patriots were coming up like pick 38. I'm pretty sure we had like the picks were like getting closer. They told us they're gonna like tap us, come get us like a few picks before that to get the enunciation and all that stuff. So the picture like going by, it's like pick 36. I'm like, man, nobody came to tap me. Like, let me get up and go ask somebody. Like, am I actually going to like do this right now? They're like, no, actually you're not. So like Roger Goodell's doing this one, Troy Vince is doing the next one, then you're doing, the last pick that the Patriots have. I'm like, come on, just let me go first. I can do the one.
It's not what the people want. The people want.
I'm like, I'll do the one, and then I'll go on about my way. So I just had to kind of wait in the green room that whole time, for all that. But it came about from the Patriots, media, all that stuff. They figured the draft was in Wisconsin. I played in Wisconsin, so there's plenty of Wisconsin guys there that I played with, and some guys that came before me. So that was a big part of the reason that I was there, and it was definitely an honor. I mean, I've seen some of my former teammates go up there and announce picks before. To have that opportunity was cool. Definitely was a little nervous, getting up there in front of everybody. I've spoken in front of people before, but that's always, a different thing. I was just glad I got a name that wasn't challenging. When they told me Jared Wilson, I was like, oh, perfect, guys. I can do that. That's pretty easy.
I thought you handled it very well. Apologies, I did mess up the name. If you asked me my own name, I would not have been able to tell you. We were screaming for quite some time, but that was very, very cool. All right, now let's get to the bread and butter of this conversation. One, Mr. TreVeyon Henderson taken with the Patriots, second round pick. Now, first of all, what do you like about TreVeyon Henderson's game? Because the projection is he's going to slide into that third down back role, one that you are very familiar with. Josh McDaniels is back as the offensive coordinator. So this is really a role that you know inside and out, even if there are some changes. So why do you think he fits in that role? And what advice would you give him as a young guy going into that Josh McDaniels system?
I mean, what I love about him is the versatility first and foremost. He can do whatever you need him to do in the backfield, outside of the backfield, catch the football, run the football, block. He encapsulates everything you want in a modern day running back. And can't forget the explosiveness. He's way more explosive than I ever was. A dude's running extremely fast when he's catching check downs, taking them the distance. He's catching screens, taking them the distance, run plays. At any given time, he's one of those guys that can create a big play. And really, my advice to him is just to be a sponge, learn as much as possible. Josh is going to throw a lot of stuff at you. He's probably going to try and get him to learn, multiple positions, even, right when he gets there, during OTAs. And it may seem like a lot, maybe it won't, because he did a lot of different things, at Ohio State. But man, it's just a home run pick. And literally, I was saying, like in the green room at the draft, I was like, "Oh, this pick is about to be, TreVeyon Henderson." I could see them picking, picking those guys. I was hoping I got to announce that pick, but it didn't work out that way. But yeah, man, he's played it for great teams in college. So look, I think he'll fit right in and make a splash right away.
And I gotta say, when I was watching him pass block, that was really when I was like, okay, I think this guy is worthy of protecting the franchise, as you were back in the day. What makes him stand out in that way for you? Because it just seems like he's never fooled. Now, obviously, like in college and NFL, you're dealing with different types of stunts and things like that. But they tried to overload his gap. They'd have him, trying to block guys on the other side of the formation. He never seemed rattled. So when you watched him, what really impressed you as someone who did it at such a high level?
Well, I mean, he was extremely patient when it came to blocking. Some guys, don't really want to block first and foremost. He's a willing blocker. He knows who to block, and once he sees the guy, he doesn't just rush up there to try and smack him right away. He makes sure he gets in position. Whether it's passing off blocks between the offensive line, letting it sort out, and then when it comes to that time when you're literally a foot away from a dude, he's not just waiting back, he's delivering the blow. So that's a really cool thing to see, because most guys like to catch the block, that type of thing, and absorb it. He's delivering the blow, and like I said, when you put that on tape, that slows those linebackers down, and maybe you won't see as many blitzes when you're delivering blocks like that.
You got to protect your guys. No one wants to be on the TreVeyon Henderson's highlight reel getting blown up trying to attack the A-gap. One other thing I want to ask about in this game before we dive into some film is the ball security. Again, you're a guy who didn't put the ball on the ground very often in your career. TreVeyon Henderson fumbled once in college. And when you just see him carrying the ball, that thing doesn't move. Obviously, sometimes you're in unopportune positions where the ball's kind of exposed, but it never really gets jarred loose. So what exactly is it that makes him so reliable in protecting the football? Because it's very impressive to be a guy with his workload in college to put the ball on the ground so little.
I just say it's important to him. The ball's at the forefront of his mind every time he touches, even when it's not in his hands. When he's protecting the quarterback, that's protecting the football as well. So it's important to him. He knows what's at stake every time he has it in his hands. Obviously, he creates a ton of explosive plays, and he doesn't put it on the ground. So, look, I think the best running backs protect the football, and he's one of those guys. And hopefully, he'll continue to do that in the league. Because look, I mean, it's going to be a challenge. I mean, in college, I'm sure they teach going after the ball, but most teams aren't that good at it. And the NFL, probably 95% of the team, they're attacking that ball, whether you put it on tape or not, that you're protecting it. So thinking, he'll be good when it comes to that.
Patriots receiving core has been in desperate need of both separation and speed on the outside, and they address both of those needs with their top pick of the third round. Washington State wide receiver Kyle Williams was a late riser in the media community, but after a very strong pre-draft process, he quickly shot up boards as one of the premier pass catchers in this draft class. Williams lines up in a reduced split between the numbers and hashes, giving him a two-way release off the line against press. He gets the defender to lean with an outside fake off the line, dips his shoulder to avoid a punch while releasing inside, and stacks the defender to get wide open on a corner route. A slightly underthrown ball allows the defender to recover and break up the pass, but Williams shows incredible focus to keep his eyes on the ball, re-catch it, and get both feet in before going out of bounds. Williams is the first consistent deep threat New England's had since their last Super Bowl run, and he plays true to his electric 4.4 speed. On passes of at least 20 air yards, he ranked top 5 among FBS receivers with 14 catches and 8 scores. He also tied for third in contested catches, bringing in 7 of 9 such targets. Here, Williams lines up as the backside receiver and pass option on an RPO. He slow plays his release before taking off, winning deep for what should be 6 points. But once again, the pass is underthrown, and Williams adjusts by throttling down, twirling and extending for the pass, and securing it through contact to set up a red zone possession.
Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to become members of Patriots Press Pass here on YouTube for more breakdowns just like this, as well as a ton of other great bonus content. All right, now enough of the chit chat for me. Let's dive into the film. Now, first up, James, we've got a run from the shotgun, and it's going to be TreVeyon Henderson in a counter run scheme. Now, first, I'm going to run it actually so we can see it, and then I want to get your advice on it. But before I do, this was one of your bread and butter runs, these runs out of shotgun with a pulling guard. What is it that made you so good at them, and why do you see TreVeyon Henderson being so effective on tape?
I mean, it's just patience when it comes to these power plays, these counter plays out of the shotgun. You know, honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of running the ball out of the gun, but that's like what I had to do. I just wasn't used to doing it because we didn't do it at Wisconsin like whatsoever. So it's something, different for me. But it's just patience, is shuffling over to the quarterback, getting behind that puller, reading those gaps. The A gap's open, so you can take it. If not, you follow that puller, you allow him to get on his blocks, and when you see it, once you're patient until those linemen, to that puller gets up on his blocks, and then you go. And it's like in this clip right here, TreVeyon, he's patient, and then when he gets that, he gets that crease.
Jeez.
Look, the puller gets up on him, and the puller, I mean, he doesn't even, like, when you have an explosive back like that, like, you don't even have to deplete a guy, just literally get a little hand on him, and he's gonna get through it. Just boom. And then the safety doesn't, or the safety of the corner doesn't fill the gap fast enough. He's sitting back waiting. And this is the explosiveness that I talk about. He's able to, really take the ball, a long way. And this was a huge play in the game.
And it's the acceleration, like right here, the safety has a chance to get him down, and he just completely ruins the angle. You see that so much on this guy's tape. Even some guys that try to come from the backside and catch up, they can't do it. That's just one part of his game, though. That's the crazy part. Kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you see this, kind of like Rex Burke had a little bit as a runner. Do you see that at all?
Yeah, I can see it, man. Rex was explosive. People don't realize how explosive Rex was, and Rex could really hit into a different gear, man. Rex very patient in setting his blocks. Boom.
It's like that.
And like these type of explosive players, like he don't even have to slow down to like make these cuts. Like, if you're explosive, use that ability. Like I don't need to slow down and do 100 moves. Like I'm gonna make you move your feet, and if you don't, like, I'm just gonna run past you. So he's a special guy.
It was like Devin McCourty said, it's nice to have somebody really speedy back in that number 32 jersey. All right, moving on. Now, this is one that you're kind of familiar with. So we get a little bit of shift. Gets TreVeyon Henderson split out wide. This play reminded me of the Ravens game that you guys had, where I feel like you and Rex were just playing wide receiver for half the game. If you want any nuggets from that game, I would love to hear them. But also, what do you just see from this play? It's impressive seeing a running back come out of the backfield being able to run a sluggo.
Oh, well, they're scheming it up. They, shift the tight end back and then motion him out, to the empty formation. They get the man coverage look that they want. That's why they're setting this up. They probably anticipated this team being in man coverage in this type of situation. He's one-on-one isolated with a linebacker. He's patient with the route, sells the slant first, gets the linebacker's head turned back to the quarterback, and he's dead to rights after that. I mean, whenever we get this type of look as a running back, as soon as you see the linebacker walking out there, we're automatically thinking big play. Obviously, unless the safety, which safety should, and when you see your linebacker walk out there, you better go out there and help him. We're throwing it up top.
Kind of dirty there. He went all the way to the
side. He ran the complete opposite way. But that's a part of college football too, because in the NFL, I mean, once he puts it on tape, once those safeties, they're going over to help that linebacker 100%. The good ones will, I should say.
Also, just being able to track the ball like this as a running back, and it's not even like he did this a ton, at least from the games I saw. This was one of the only times that I saw him really targeted deep with an accurate pass, and it looks like he's like a wide receiver out there.
Yeah,
Also,
and that's you go ahead, sorry.
I was just curious because you were really good at tracking like this too. Was there like any kind of, did you do specific drills for this, or are you just a natural at it? How do you get good at this as a running back?
I mean, you working in practice. I will say, like with the Patriots, you do a lot of pre-practice. Only not even pre-practice. You're like right in the beginning of practice, you do like ball security circuit. It's going to be, obviously protecting and running with it. It's going to be different forms of, high point in football, catching, turning, top shelf, pull back, all these different types of techniques that maybe may seem redundant, at the beginning of practice, but it comes in handy when these type of moments come up because as running backs, you don't really catch, passes down the field like this very often. I mean, maybe a pass catching back, like myself and, other guys may do it only a few times out of the year. So when that opportunity does come, you'll be prepared for it. But for me, I played baseball too. So, tracking the football was like tracking a baseball, play center field. So, that wasn't, too much of a challenge for me.
Play multiple sports. I love telling this to high school athletes. It helps so much. The skills translate. All right, now let's get to this next play. Another one. This one I know you requested, specifically a screen.
Yeah.
As someone who had a lot of success on screens like this, I wasn't sure if this was the kind that you guys did, where it was basically mesh, where you basically pick the guy off and then you're kind of home free. But this was a really impressive one because this is just before halftime. They think that they're just going to get him down and they're going to go into the locker room. He says absolutely not. Takes advantage of some good blocking that he sets up and is able to get the score to get them back in this game. I think they were trailing before this. So what do you see here? Because this was obviously a huge game-changing play, the kind of thing I'm sure as a scout really stands out to you when you're hoping to get this guy on your team.
We actually ran this exact play. It's literally maybe not exactly the way they do it with the routes, but we ran this cross screen quite a few times. I was able to make some big plays on this. We were running against man coverage, but it actually worked perfectly. They called it against the blitz. He's able to bluff the blitzer as he's going. He thinks he's scot-free to get a sack on the quarterback, and boom, the ball's going over his head. But this is what I love here, because this is the most difficult blocks for offensive line when they get in space against these defensive backs. He's able to catch the ball, not just take off as soon as he gets it. He's running, he's setting it. Allows him that Bill Belichick would love that, running, setting those blocks in the open field. And then after you do that, then do what you do that makes you special. This is it. Like they get those hats on hats, and he puts that foot in the ground. He makes number 4 over pursuit of play. He's trying to duck under a block and make the tackle, and it's a wrap.
Friendly fire on the play too. That's when you really got it. They tackle each other. And then runs this one in because you're not going to catch him when you're this far behind. All right, now we're going to get into some blocking tape. All right, so let's run it first because this is like, I don't know what they're doing. They're moving around. I'm just going to run it, and you tell me what you see on this play.
All right, well, we got a little bit of an exotic, front from Penn State, so he's able to, get the mic point. He's able to decipher, the blitz pickup responsibility that he has, and this is what I'm talking about. He's not just running over there full speed to go, clean, knock the guy out. He's patient. He gets over to him and he delivers the punch. It's just a good execution. A lot of guys sometimes will overrun this, and then the defensive back will just undercut and get a hit on the quarterback. So it's a great job there.
And it's crazy because he'll stand perfectly still if he has to, while guys have a full head of steam. And it's kind of like a goalie in any sport. Something's got, no offense, you got to have screw loose to do that kind of thing. But I mean, it's a valuable job. Somebody's got to do it. So obviously we're all very appreciative. We got another one against Penn State. I left one out where he lead blocks for his quarterback on a touchdown, and he puts the guy on the ground because I don't know how much Tom Brady was running behind you as a lead blocker. So I figured, we didn't have to dive into that one. We have another rep in pass pro. What do you see here?
We go another, kind of exotic front from Penn State, and there he's just helping out his offensive lineman. There'll be times that Josh McDaniels and the offensive line coach will, depend on who the matching up against, is anytime you release between the A and B gap, if you see some color, you chip it in. That's what he's doing here. Once again, delivering the blow. I mean, he probably had a couple of knockouts against Penn State. That's Yeah, something out against
he
them.
had more games than his offensive line combined.
That's
It was
impressive,
crazy.
man.
And so what exactly is the target area? Are you literally just saying, I just want to get my shoulder into this guy as much as I can? Or are you going for a specific part?
You want to get into those ribs. That's really where you want to get into, like that ribs, that chest plate, and he really delivers it, right there in that chest plate. And I would hate to be a defensive lineman and somebody would come chip me like that. I'm sure they really dislike it. It's almost like a blindside hit, like a defensive player type of thing. So yeah, it's tough to deal with.
Like, I'm just a citizen watching this slow motion is absolutely brutal. And yeah, you're right, because he's doing his move. He thinks he's coming with his counter, and he's like, where did you come from? And then it's put to the ground by a guy who's probably got like 4 inches less than him. That is absolutely crazy. All right, I think that is all the tape that we've got, James. This was a blast, man. Thank you so much for your time. Let's fix that ratio real quick. All right, before I let you go, I know you're still doing the Money Down pod, doing great work over there. Let the people know when's the next time we're going to get an episode from you, and any other stuff that you're coming out with that people should be looking out for.
Oh yeah, we'll be back live again on Monday night. We typically, with the coaching, it could be a little sporadic with the time that we record and everything. But Mondays we like to do that Money Down Mondays. On Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern time, we like to record live, and we talk sports that's going on. Obviously, got NBA playoffs. We talk everything that's going on, football, with basketball, any sports, and we talk live stuff as well. So we're on YouTube, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on all social media platforms, so you can check us out at the Money Down Podcast. Myself, Sojourn Shelton, Warren Heron, all 2 of my former college teammates, and we haven't had some guests on a while, due to the coaching, but we're getting them back on. Starting this week, we're gonna start recording some more episodes with some guests on there, which will be a ton of fun.
It's still one of the most fun interviews I've ever done. So thank you for doing me the favor and coming back on. And thank you all, as always, for watching. Now, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We will see you next time. Peace, y'all.